Now, as you can see here, we've got two sets of cubes. One on the right is perfectly snapped together. The one on the left is a bit wonky, to be quite honest. Now, both of these took the same amount of time to do, so if you need to align things together, snapping's your tool. But how do we use it? Let's find out more and hop on over into Blender. Okay everybody, welcome back. Well, the snapping tool is a very simple one to use, but it's got many options, and some of them can be a bit confusing. At the very top of the 3D view, we've got this magnet tool. If we click on that, we've turned snapping on. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it means if we go ahead and move our cube now, you'll notice that it moves in whole increments. In fact, it's moving one blender unit or 1 meter at a time as we go. If we go into our orthographic modes, either top, front, left, right, back, whatever you've picked, you can see that it now snaps to the grid. And because we zoomed in just enough to see the smaller squares, it's moving by 0.1 of a unit as well. And we can confirm that by having a look over at the transform of the cube. The cube object is selected, and the same information is available in the transform options in the properties window if you pop that out. Now notice that the coordinate here, the Z coordinate of 1 meter, refers to where that orange dot is. So if I press G again to move it, we can see that it's moving by 0.1. If I zoom out a little further until you can't see those thin lines, now when I try and move it, it will move by whole units at a time. Now if you're trying to snap something and you don't want it snapping, now if at any point you don't want snapping turned on and you want to toggle it off quickly, you can just hold down Control whilst it's turned on, and then it will turn off, it will toggle off. If I let go of Control, then it snaps back on again. If you need to toggle it on and off, you will notice that the toggle key is now gone. But you can use the shortcut key, Shift and Tab to toggle it on, and Shift and Tab to toggle it off again. Now what you won't notice by just doing that straight away, have a look at the location. Currently it's going up by whole numbers. If I go Shift and Tab and turn it off, we see that it's now going up by whatever is available to it. If I go ahead and click and place the cube, and then go Shift and Tab, turning snapping back on, we notice when we go to move it, yes, it's doing whole numbers again, but it's not whole numbers as it was before. It's whole numbers from its new position, which can be a little bit confusing if you are trying to snap something to the grid underneath. If that's what you are trying to do, what you can do is next to the magnet icon, there's a drop down, and you want absolute grid snap. Now it won't matter, it will snap to the grid perfectly, whether you're at this scale or at a smaller scale as well. Now what are the other options that are there? Well, a vertex will snap to vertices, edges to edges, faces to faces, and volume to volume. All of them are pretty self-explanatory. Now the one that I find the most use while we're in object mode and we're not really editing anything is the vertex snapping. I'm going to click vertex snapping now, and I'm not going to adjust any of the other settings for the moment. I'm going to rotate the view around slightly so we can see what's going on. And I'm going to duplicate this cube. Snapping is turned on, so it wasn't jerking all over the place. But what I can do now is press the G key, and if I move my cursor over one of the 4 top corners, you see that the cube is snapping to it. But it looks the same on the back 2 and the front 2, so what's going on there? Well, if you recall, on these options, the target was the closest. Now I'm leaving it as that at the moment because that's the way that I like working. I don't like fiddling around with those options unnecessarily, but it also means that sometimes aligning can be a bit of a pain. So if I move this cube over to this side and I wanted to make kind of a step staircase going up, I could go G and it will snap to this closest one. However, if I wanted the staircase going the other way up, I would have to first move the cube over here, click to set its new position, and then go G and move it again back to here. If I'd tried it the other way first, it would have just stacked it on top. But you can see when we start doing things like this, it becomes very quick to start building up a particular shape without it having to match the grid. So if I was to scale that cube slightly, now I can start stacking things in a different way completely. And of course I need to move the cursor around occasionally to get things lined up as I'd expect them. So there we go, we've got a new shape coming together really well. And if you're building something up out of cubes, Kind of like how you would do in a game like Minecraft, the snapping tool is a godsend because it really does help you build your models really, really quickly. Whether or not you're using increment or the vertex snapping option, they're both really handy.